Good evening, everybody. The panel's just appearing. Great. So I'm back. So for those of you who were in the last session, you may think, oh, she disappeared and then I've reappeared. So just to remind you, I'm Holly Tillbrook. I'm one of the deputy directors here at ICE with responsibility for the student experience. I'm joined for the next 40 minutes by academics and students from the Institute. We're just going to talk to them and answer any of the questions that you have about their experience of teaching and learning at the Institute. I'm going to start off by asking everybody to introduce themselves as they appear on my screen. Alex, can I start with you, please?
Thanks, Holly. Yes, I'm Alex. I am the Academic Director for Philosophy and Interdisciplinary Studies, which means I cover the Advanced Diploma and Creativity as well.
Thank you. Damien.
So, hi everyone. I'm a student on the Advanced Diploma in Research in the Arts and Sciences.
James.
Hello everyone. I'm James and I'm the Course Director for the Diploma in Coaching. And I'm also fulfilling the role of course director for one of the groups and the certificate for coaching this year.
Thank you. Emma.
Hi, I'm Emma English and I look after all of the medicine and health programmes at the Institute of Continuing Education.
Thank you. Nigel.
Hi everyone, I'm Nigel. I'm the Academic Director for Education and Social Science, which means I look after courses including sociology, psychology, politics, and strategic business and management.
Great. Megan.
I'm a student on the pre-medical studies course.
Thank you. Katherine.
Hi, I'm Katherine. I'm a student on the Advanced Diploma in Research Theory and Practice course.
Thank you. And Karina.
Hi everyone, I'm Katherine Nugent. I'm a student on the Certificate for Coaching.
Thank you. I'm going to kick off with a question for our students, which is, why did you choose to study with us at ICE? Karina, can I start with you, please?
Yeah, absolutely. There's a multitude of coaching courses available, but I find that many of them are very practical in nature, which is of course important. Coaching is a practical skill, but what really appealed to me about ICE in particular is that academic grounding. So, you know, we have to do an essay once a term. In addition to, you know, practicing in triads during our study days, in addition to submitting coaching logs. So, you know, you really get that mix of practical experience, but also academic experience. And that's what really drew me to the course.
Right, thank you. And we've got quite a lot of questions and interest in coaching, so thank you for providing that context. Megan, we're also getting quite a lot of questions and comments about the pre-medical course. I was wondering if you could let us know why you chose that course and why at ICE.
So I wanted to go into medicine for a very long time, and unfortunately didn't get the A-level grades for it. So this course can make up that entry requirement for medical school, kind of alongside everything else you have to do in the process. And ICE in particular for me was amazing because I'm a carer for my younger sister. She is severely disabled, has very high support needs. And that meant, because it's distance learning a lot of the time, I'm able to keep those caring commitments and like do my own study at the same time. So it's been really nice.
Great, thank you. I'm glad to hear that you're enjoying it as well. This is our first cohort, so it's been a very exciting course to see off the ground. And Katherine, can you let us know a little bit about why you've chosen to study with us at ICE?
Yes, so I graduated from my degree in 2020 and I really wanted the opportunity to research and study again after a few years gap. And I wanted it to be something that was flexible, that I can work alongside my lifestyle. I have 2 jobs alongside this and I wanted something that I could do alongside that. I thought it might be good kind of experience for getting onto a PhD or a research position before. Good kind of experience for that.
Great, thank you. And Damien?
So similar to everybody else, really, I don't have a first degree. So my intention at some point, although maybe not at the moment with a dissertation submission deadline looming, my intention is to move on to a master's degree at some point. But not having a first degree meant that I didn't fulfill the entry requirements. So this course fits neatly between those two, gives me the academic grounding that I need, gives me the understanding of the academic disciplines required, and really helps shape my thinking around the research project that I'm going to be taking on with the Masters.
Thank you. And it's really great to hear that such a variety of reasons for joining. So those of you who are returning to higher education but to explore different things, the intention perhaps of going on to do study afterwards, but also the importance of flexibility and being able to do the courses around your sort of everyday lives. And as you were saying, Corinna, and you're doing that kind of academic rigor that you can still have in a part-time online course, which I think is really important. I'm now going to go to the academics and ask them, what steps do you take to make our courses challenging and rigorous, as Corinna and Damien have described them, but also accessible? So if you are returning to higher education after a period of, let's say, 20 years, or coming to higher education for the first time, those courses are still accessible. Emma, can I come to you first, please?
Thanks, Holly. So the courses that sit within medicine and health are a little bit different. We have the undergraduate courses that are 100% online, but we also have pre-med itself, which is partly online, but partly in person. So we make a lot of effort with our in-person sessions to really kind of do group activities and also collective activities so that students can work together and support each other, as well as the student support services that we have that help with academic understanding and any wider issues that may arise during the course. So we do quite a lot of different approaches to teaching as well. So we try and make sure that we have pre-recorded lectures, but we also have worksheets for students to work through. We work on case studies as well, in particular in the biological science side of pre-medical studies. And these are to introduce students to the way of approaching medicine that's the transition from learning direct from a textbook into the application in the clinical field. So we try to use lots of different approaches in terms of how we deliver information so that everybody gets the opportunity to find the way that they learn best through the courses.
Thank you. Alex, how do you make sure that your courses are challenging yet still accessible?
Oh, I could talk about a number of things here. I think given the interest in coaching, I might actually start there. So for the first time this year, I was teaching on the MST in coaching. And so dealing with students who were new to philosophy, I was kind of surprised the team wanted a philosopher involved in teaching coaching because it is so hyper-theoretical. And I worried that it would be a bit throwing people in the deep end. But within 5 minutes of teaching the course, the students had taught me that this was absolutely applicable. This was very relevant. This was something they needed to know and something that was going to give rigor. So the accessibility became the issue. And then it was a case of, well, not expecting them to be master's students in philosophy was the first thing. So making sure that they know that this is about applying it in coaching. And so often this is the case with courses at ICE, is that we're looking at an applied approach. So it's not enough just to understand the theoretical stuff behind it. It's about applying it. But when it comes to applying it, you can assess that. You can establish that it's useful. You can establish that it has relevance to things, to your work and to your practice and so on. I think the same thing applied with the advanced diploma and with creativity as well. They are very deep subjects. You could get endlessly caught up in them, but we keep that tailored approach that Emma was just talking about, making sure that the student stays the focus, making sure that their interest, what fascinates them and what gives them wonder is what's driving the course ahead. So it's more about support, I suppose, and making sure that they know that they're supported. So we also provide a lot of skills support. I do study skills for my college. I've created a philosophy resource page for all philosophers at ICE, because writing philosophy is a more technical subject than most people realise. But it's open and accessible to most students. In fact, everyone in the advanced diploma, so Katherine and Damien also have access to it. I doubt they're very interested in my lectures on philosophy, but they could have a look if they wanted to. Maybe they can, I don't know.
Thank you.
I won't press them on that.
And just to make you all aware that study skills is available throughout ICE as well as kind of subject specific study skills. James and Nigel, I'm going to tweak the question slightly. And James, for you, because of the interest we're getting seen through on coaching, because Karina's already mentioned that one of the reasons she chose it was because there is that rigorous space. It's not just about the practical. What are the types of learners that you see coming to do coaching? I mean, it's a growing field. Not everybody will have experienced it before. So what are the makeups of your groups in terms of the diversity of learners?
Yeah, we get a wide range of learners coming onto our coaching programs. Some on the diploma will be experienced in coaching. Some coming onto the certificate may not be. The one thing they all share in common is a desire to involve themselves in learning how to coach. So it's important that the programs that we run in coaching, yes, they do provide a theoretical and academic background, but I'd like to think that the way in which the programs are delivered captures the spirit of coaching, that the teaching is involved primarily around the quality of in-depth discussions about their learning. So I'd like to think that the programs are challenging, that their learning is deep and significant, but at the same time, I think it's important for them to know that they are learning in an atmosphere of psychological and emotional safety, because significant learning, as I'm sure we would all agree, cannot take place in an atmosphere of intimidation. And of course, as coaches, we are working with clients to help build confidence, self-belief, and awareness in their capacity to grow, learn, and develop. And I'd like to think that we're capturing the spirit of coaching in the way that we work.
Karina's nodding away and smiling, so I would take that as a good sign. Thank you very much, James. Nigel, I've got a question that's actually just come through for you, so changing tact completely. Good evening, Nigel. I have a background in Master of Applied Arts. Is it allowed to apply to an undergraduate programme certificate in strategic business and management? So I guess what they're asking is, I've already done a high-level higher education. Can I still come and do an undergraduate certificate here with us?
Yes, of course. I think that's a very good question. Many students start with preconceived notions that if they have a background in arts, for example, then strategic management and business might not be appropriate for them. I think the first thing to say, most importantly, is all of our undergraduate certificates are open access, and they don't make any assumptions about your prior knowledge in a given disciplinary area. So given your background in arts, perfectly acceptable to apply for strategic business and management, and to realize that the course is designed for a variety of learners coming from a diverse range of backgrounds. So you'll be given an introduction from the outset to the fundamental principles of the discipline and the study skills you require to do well in that discipline. So there's no assumption that any individual learner is coming pre-prepared for the course, which attracts a huge diversity of people with a range of experience. And I think from my experience, that's one of the things that makes it so exciting, challenging, teaching our courses, because of the challenges of teaching people from a wide range of backgrounds and experiences. Holly.
Thank you, Nigel. I've got a question for Megan and Emma. I'm going to ask Emma first and then see if Megan's got a view on this as well. Emma, can you give advice on the recommended reading for medical science courses? And then Megan, the question for you is going to be, have you found a particular source helpful in your course? Emma.
So I would say, in terms of the undergraduate online courses, when you enrol, there is recommended reading that can be sent to you to say, have a read of this beforehand. And we try and pick resources that are easy to access so that people can work through them in their own time. For pre-medical studies, I think I would probably strongly advise anybody who has been a little while out of science full stop to get hold of the revision guides that we use for GCSEs, triple award science ideally, and just read through them now. There's some really fantastic resource available at GCSE level that gives a walk through the curriculum, gives you retrieval questions to test yourself, and it gives you some explanatory and worked answers, and even more resource online. The reason why I'm saying GCSE rather than A level at this stage is those who've been away from it for a little while, I think, probably need to go back to that underpinning first, especially as if I think about GCSE, when I learnt it a good number of years ago, the way it's taught has changed quite a bit and some of the key concepts have changed. And then you can work up to the A-level equivalents. But these are, for our courses, certainly for pre-med, I think if you can get a good underpinning in that level, that will set you a good stead starting something like pre-medical. And I said for the other courses, the other undergraduate courses we have, we'd give more tailored reading to anybody who wants to enroll on those courses.
Thank you. And Megan, to put you on the spot slightly, since you're in front of Emma here, and she's just given her views. Has there been something that you found particularly helpful in preparing to come to do the medical science course with us?
I personally did science A levels, I think about 4 years ago now. So the A level textbooks, because I was already familiar with them, kind of refreshing myself through those was really, really helpful. But people who maybe sat their science GCSEs like a bit longer ago, who are in my course, I know they did find it really helpful going back and getting that kind of foundational knowledge kind of beforehand. In terms of like the course for me currently, because we split our learning into biology, chemistry, and then pre-medical studies, for the chemistry, I found A-level textbooks amazing. For the biology, I think something I've been finding really helpful at the moment is like an anatomy colouring book. So quite a fun way of doing it, but it's very easy to kind of just read chunks of text with no idea what's going on. But I've found like colouring in all the little structures and then reading the thing with it has been like really helpful for like understanding the placement of everything.
Thank you. That's really interesting and having a really interesting view that actually you don't have to learn in the traditional ways that perhaps we think we need to learn when, so that's really helpful. We've got a question here which is specifically about the undergraduate certificate of ecology and conservation, and it's Emma, it's for you, and it's about an idea of the number of hours a week you need to study. But I also want to open that up to the other students who've got lived experience of these are the number of hours I study, and this is sort of how I plan my week to keep on top of the work. So Emma, because this question has come specifically about the undergraduate certificate of ecology and conservation, are you able to give an idea of hours per week?
I can give an idea. This is a brand new course. It's one of our new offerings this year. So we have not run it yet, so there won't be anybody who can tell you what time and effort they put into actually doing it. But with all of our courses, 60 credits across a year is a notional 600 learning hours, and that's divided up between the contact time that we have. So we've got the asynchronous learning, but we also have synchronous online sessions that get timetabled in throughout the year as well. And then that's also hours spent on doing further reading, any structured work that you get given, and your assessments as well. So if you think roughly 600 hours over the duration of the course and divided up, some weeks may be slightly lighter than others, especially when you're building up to assessments. That's the kind of ballpark figure that to totally encompass the learning across the whole course. Oh, I think you're on mute, Holly.
You think, well, how many years since COVID I'd be used to this by now. Katherine, coming to you, what are the study hours like for your course?
Was that for me? Yeah, so because my main job is in the school, I managed to work it around the holidays. So thankfully, each assignment has been during just after the holidays. So I've always managed to do what's required within the holidays for my work in the school. and in the evenings and weekends. So I always try to dedicate a few hours each week to it, and then I'll blast it during the holidays.
Thank you. And Corinne, I want to ask you, because obviously we've mentioned how coaching is both practical and also the academic. So how do you find the hours and the workload? How do you manage that?
Yeah, so in terms of the structure, what we have is 4 study days a term. And then outside of that, we have 1 hour tutorial every week. So that's, you know, the FaceTime and the bare minimum, then you fit, you know, your reading around that. So similar to others, what I found is, you know, kind of 1 to 2 weeks, 1 to 2 hours a week of kind of reading, trying to do your essay for the most part, and then, to be honest, sorry, James, I do have intensified kind of a week or so ahead of the deadline. That was easier for the first one. It was just before Christmas, so it kind of eased us into it because we had that kind of Christmas time to work. Bit more tricky afterwards, but that's generally how I structure it. And then in terms of the practical element, there are 5 hours that of coaching examples that you have to give in the second term, and then 15 hours in the third term, which I think is I'm an internal coach at an organization, so I can do it that way. But you know, others that are more new, or you know, as James says, you don't need experience to go on the certificate. You know, we're really banding together. We've got our WhatsApp group. You know, have you got a friend who wants coaching? Yes, I can help. You know, and we really share resources that way. And you know, you can't cram the coaching hours, so that does require a little bit more planning. You know, once a week or so. You know, to keep up with your client schedule.
Thank you, Corinne and Katherine. And that brings me very nicely to a question that I've got for James and Alex. Someone has asked, I'm in between 2 different courses. I think they probably mean they're trying to decide between cognitive psychology. So actually, Nigel, you might be better placed to answer this than Alex. Sorry, Alex. And the diploma in coaching. They are on different dates. Their time is free for them to use as they see fit and organise, and they feel that these 2 courses could complement each other. Do you think doing them together would be possible? So I'm going to caveat that by referring to a question that I had in the last session, which is we do recommend that students do no more than 120 credits a year. So really think about taking on a number of different courses and make sure that you can manage that and you do have the space. That caveat aside, Nigel, what's your feeling about a student doing cognitive psychology and diploma in coaching?
Yeah, I think it's a big ask. I would agree with you completely, Holly, that students should be careful when combining courses. If they're doing 2 courses and studying 120 credits, they need to think about the total volume of notional study hours, 1,200 across the academic year. And that needs thinking about carefully in terms of your other commitments. If you have a full-time job or high family responsibilities or personal responsibilities, taking on that level of study might be very challenging. You also need to think about why you're doing the courses. You know, what is your purpose and the extent to which they can fit together. I mean, cognitive psychology gives you a great introduction to issues in psychology, research methods in psychology, neuroscience, etc. It's a demanding course in itself because it has, for example, a requirement that you're able to learn statistical methods. So you need to think, can I do all of that and the challenge of that in conjunction with a diploma in coaching, which I know also requires a lot of hours in terms of collecting evidence for coaching practice. But it's probably a good idea to hand that part of this question over to James so he can speak about the diploma in coaching and whether it can be combined.
Yeah, thank you very much. No, I agree with Nigel. I think it would be it'd be very demanding on any learner, I think, to try and combine those 2 courses. But I also think the learner needs to think about, you know, what's the intention here? What's the long-term plan? Where do they see themselves going? What's their career path or what ideas do they have about further learning? So which of those two programs is going to get them closer to what it is they want to achieve in the long run? I think any student, though, who has an interest in psychology, I think will enjoy the diploma, because there's quite an emphasis on the psychology of coaching, psychology of learning within the diploma course. So I think anybody with an interest in cognitive psychology, I think, would enjoy the diploma, certainly in terms of the emphasis that we place on psychology, for sure.
Thank you both very much. And that leads me on nicely to a question for Damien, because you both have mentioned what is your intent in doing a course. And Damien, someone's been you really captured when you were thinking about you're doing this course and now you're thinking about further study. And the question is, did you start your journey with ICE knowing that you wanted to take learning further? And was that the pathway that you were always considering, or is that something that you started to explore since studying with us?
Sure. So I think yes, for two reasons. So firstly, as I mentioned before, to act as that bridge between having no first degree, entering higher education in slightly more mature years. But then also, secondly, I think, and more importantly, to prove to myself that I was capable of it. So it's this kind of faraway dream, I guess, to progress and do the masters and do all that research and contribute to the research in my chosen area. But I needed to understand that I was capable of it, and I understood that I needed the academic grounding, understanding the research skills before I could move on to do that.
Thank you. And Alex, as we've just Damien just mentioned, the research skills, and you do the advanced diploma. Is there any help for students who may want to be thinking about publishing any of the research that they do under the advanced diploma? That's a question that we have. Can the dissertation be published as a scholarly article, and does ICE help with that?
We certainly can help. I think where most of the help would come from on the advanced diploma would be some of the study skills, some of the research skills that we talk about in terms of research communication and engaging with a wider community of researchers, but also directly working with a supervisor who has been there, done that in the field, who knows what it is to research and publish in that particular field. It is a very high bar to set yourself, and expect it to be demanding, but it's absolutely an outcome that you can aim for. And some people have taken the advanced diploma just in order to research, in order to publish eventually. They're not so much worried about the grade that they're getting. They're much more interested in, am I producing something that will be tailored later for research? And we've had a few students engage with the course in that way.
Great, thank you very much. So building on that notion of goals and people's thoughts about taking the course, I just want to ask the students, did you have any preconceptions or worries before you came to ICE and started the course? And have those preconceptions been realised? And how have you worked together as a group? So Megan, can I come to you first about whether you had any caution, nerves, as a sort of trend we sometimes see, that people worried about coming to Cambridge to study?
I think I kind of had two main ones. And I think the first one is that I'm 21, so I'm like the bottom bracket of mature student. So I kind of came into this thinking, oh, I'm going to be so much younger than everyone else, and how am I going to make friends? How am I going to fit in? But I have not had a problem with that at all. I've made some really great friends. I'm like currently in Cambridge at the moment for my in-person teaching sessions. And so I've just spent the day kind of studying with people, doing work together, and it's been great. Kind of despite that age gap, I really haven't felt it. And I think the other thing is that I hadn't been in higher education before, and I kind of had this idea that a lot of people in the course would be people that already had a degree in healthcare or some kind of science, and they were wanting like a career change. And kind of some people do have that. But I've found I've been able to keep up with everyone else, kind of despite the fact I wasn't experienced with the university. So quite nice to be disapproved on both counts.
Thank you, Megan. It's really heartening to hear that you've really settled into that group. And I think, as the audience may already have heard, we do have a really great variety of students. And, you know, I think that's one of the values of coming to a lifelong learning institute, is getting that diversity and variety. Katherine, I'm going to come to you next, because you mentioned that you had done previous study at university. So what were some of the concerns, or what were some of the things that you were really looking forward to and were genuinely excited before joining ICE?
Yes, so one thing I'd wondered about was, because I hadn't worked online before, and both of my degrees, I did an undergrad and a master's, were in person, so I'd never done online learning before, and I wondered how that would work. But actually that's been a benefit. It's allowed me to work flexibly and alongside the lifestyle that I have that's quite busy. And something I did wonder was, because I had a master's degree, I wondered if doing the advanced diploma, because it's undergraduate, it might not work if it was too low. But having done the course, I've kind of realised that wasn't really anything to worry about. I've learned along the way, and I've had the opportunities to do what I wanted to do with it. I've been able to return to research, and so long as you're learning and working to your own level, I think it still works.
Brilliant, thank you. And Karina, how about you? Did you have any concerns, worries, little anxieties before joining the coaching course?
Yeah, I think similar to what Katherine said, I think, virtual, learning and, is different. And, I've been on coaching courses before where you log in and you do your Zoom from 9 till 5 or whatever it is, and you never kind of liaise with those people again. This could not be further from that. Everyone, we're super active in the WhatsApp group. We organize Zooms outside of the classes to discuss, what we've learned, any reading we've done. We're currently setting up a group to think about how we can think about supervision and mentoring of our coaching beyond the course finishing. So, it sounds funny, but I genuinely feel like I've met these people. I know these people, even though, it seems strange to me that I haven't met them in person yet, although that's definitely on the cards for the summer. So I think, from that perspective, it's been really, really enriching. And, just to echo what everyone said, everyone on the course is so diverse. There's people who, haven't studied for 20, 30 years and are coming back into it. When they were writing essays, the internet wasn't as big as it is now. So it's a completely different way of learning. You've got, doctors, lawyers, people in finance, we're all, lots of different backgrounds, and we're all coming together and stealing the best bits from other people's experiences. So yeah, I would say that, I think a common theme among the group was, this is Cambridge, am I ready at the beginning? But we've certainly leaned on each other a lot, and I think there would be no one who would have that same concern now.
That's lovely to hear, really reassuring that we're doing our jobs here as educators as well. Damien, how about you? Did you have any preconceptions before joining us here?
Yeah, it was terrifying, frankly. So the last education I did was 25 years ago in hospitality and catering. I've then gone on and had a 25-year career in the third sector. So stepping back into higher education was terrifying. Sleepless nights the night before the first live session, panicked emails to Alex about what does this mean and do I need to do that? All very, very quickly allayed. The courses that I've done have given me everything that I needed in a structured way that I could follow, so that when I've gone on to do the advanced diploma this year, I've got that background already. I understand how everything fits together. I know I can reach out to Nigel at any point with questions. I know that Nigel's feedback will always be constructive. 99% of the time, Nigel's right, which is irritating. But yeah, so it's been an absolutely terrifying experience to start, but I'm not terrified now. I'm thoroughly enjoying the learning research process.
Brilliant. Thank you. And I think I was a student here at ICE before I started working here, and just some of the things that you're saying really resonate as well. So Nigel, I'm going to come to you since Damien name checked you. So the students here and myself, you know, we can concur that actually those thinking about coming, you can have some of those nerves. And even though we are here to say that that goes away, you don't have to worry about that, people still will. So what's your top 2 tips that you would give to someone considering coming here and might be slightly nervous? How should they prepare?
Firstly, recognise just about everybody who comes to Cambridge, wherever it is, whether it's the institute or one of the other faculties or department, everybody suffers from imposter syndrome. However good you are, however well educated, whatever your educational trajectory, I haven't met a student in Cambridge over the last 21 years who doesn't have that sense of concern. And I think the important thing is start by recognizing that and realizing your experience is typical. You know, it's not unique to you. The second thing you then need to do, particularly in an organization like ICE, is realize people are in the same position as you, and the programs, courses, and certificates are specifically designed to nurture and support you. They're devised for adults returning to study in an incremental way, and they give you the sort of nurturing you need to help you on your journey. And to go back to Damien, one, I'm very surprised I'm right 99% of the time. I thought it would be a lot less than that. But secondly, and this is a really serious point, if you do start with that degree of nerves, you need to realize that your supervisors, your tutors, your academic directors are here to support you. And you should always feel empowered to contact them by email or other method. And they will give you the extra support and reassurance that you might need at a given point in time.
Thank you, Nigel. And I can think of no better place to end this session than talking about the empowerment, nurturing, and support of our students. So thank you all very much for joining us this evening. We're now going to hand over to Jim Gazzard, who's the Director of the Institute, for his closing remarks. Thank you, everybody, for joining me.